Welcome back to another Lapis Guides QGIS tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at heat mapping, and to do that I'm also going to incorporate a couple things on where we can get data from other locations. OpenStreetMap is a really interesting tool that we can get data from. Basically it's just regular people are submitting data all the time on what locations schools are at, or the directions of roads, or locations that are agricultural, or whatever. And we can actually get that data from OSM in a few different ways, and today I'm going to show you one of those ways. So you're just going to need to go to download.geofabric.de, German website, where you can go to OpenStreetMap data extracts, basically. Right. Obviously, we're going to be trying to do something here in Kyrgyzstan, so we're going to choose Asia. All right, we're going to scroll down until we get to the country that we want. We're going to Kyrgyzstan. Okay, and you're just going to download this file here. It's a zip file with a whole bunch of SHPs, shapefiles in there. And so yeah, just load that onto your computer, and then we'll go on to the next step. So make sure you've opened QGIS, and we're just going to drag and drop our files. Make sure that you unzip it, and then you can sort by type and just drop in all the shape files for now. We're not going to use them all, but I want you to drop them all in and just have a look at them. Okay, so you can see there's a whole lot going on. Let's hide all the layers and we'll look at a couple of them. Like we can look at waterways, right? So these are rivers, etc. Really great little tool right there. We can look at land use. Okay, so we can zoom in, and we can also use our identifier tool, and we can click on this piece, and it tells us it's a farm. This is farmland, right? This is forest land. That can be really useful. Zoom out a bit. And there's a few different locations that we can be interested in. We could look at the water bodies. Okay, so these are not waterways, but water bodies. But the one that we're interested in for this project, what we're going to do is we're going to create a heat map of all of the cafes in Bishkek. Okay, and to do that, we need to go into our points of interest. Okay, that's this one right here. Obviously, this is all of Kyrgyzstan, all the different types of things. So we can come in and we can click on a couple of these. And this is a campsite, and this is a guest house. This is a school. Using our attribute table, we can really quickly sort through this. All right, so let's select from this one, and we want cafe. So we'll select those. Okay, we have 930 matching features. Okay, great. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to export this. Okay, we're going to export it just as cafes. Okay, we want to save only selected, obviously. Okay, great. So now technically we don't need anything else at this point. But remember, this is still all of the cafes in Kyrgyzstan, 930. We don't need all of them. We just want to do the ones in Bishkek. All right, so let's zoom in on Bishkek. We'll select just the ones that we care about, and we'll do the same exact thing. We'll export this, save only selected. We'll export this as cafes Bishkek. Okay. Great. So there we go. We've at least gotten this far. So we know that all of these are cafes that are in Bishkek. Some of them, if they're written in Cyrillic, they don't really show up properly on my computer with the name. But some of them that are written in English, they'll show up. See if we can get one. Yeah, there's Adriano's Cafe. So, but what we're interested to find out is where are the kind of the hot spots, the places where there's a large amount of cafes all closely packed together if you're interested in cafes, what part of the city do you want to go to where you'll have a lot of choice? Now, before we can actually start doing anything with this, to create our heat map, we actually need to reproject it. Right now it's in 4326 and we need it in something that works with meters, right? Because when we're working with degrees, it's going to be a total mess and trying to estimate exactly the distance and the radius and all of those things that we want to use to create a heat map. There's an easy way we can actually reproject something instead of save as this and that. We can go up to vector and go to data management tools and say reproject layer. Okay, and it's going to give me a list of ones that I use on a regular basis, and 32643 is the one that I usually use in Kyrgyzstan. So that's what I'm going to put that as, and I'll run it, and there, it's already reprojected this little piece. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to open up our processing toolbox. Okay, type in heat map, and you'll find this one, heat map kernel density estimation. So we'll just double click on that. We'll create a radius of 800 meters. Okay, so anything that's within 800 meters that's touching itself will create a larger number in this heat map. Okay, our output raster size, we want to not blow up our computer's processor. So let's keep this something a little bit smaller than 211,000 rows and 167,000 columns. Okay, let's put this something closer to, we can do something like 3,000. Press tab and it'll automatically fill in the other things to fit with these numbers. Okay, then we'll just run that. Great, so here's a heat map for us already. But usually heat maps, we don't use them in black and white. We don't use grayscale, so let's go in, let's fix this up to a single band pseudo color. Use a color ramp like reds. Reds are really good for that. Or if you want to create a new one that's more like different colors of fire or something like that, you can do so. I'm also going to change this to actual here, and I'm going to create equal intervals. All right, we'll click OK, and there we go. There's our heat map. Now we can use our info button and we can click on this and it'll tell us that our number here is 22.7. Okay, basically what that means is that location that we just clicked has within 800 meters there are 22.7 dots that are in that region. Okay, within 800 meters of this one there's only 4.5. Well, okay, 10. The further we go, in some locations there's no data because there are no dots within 800 meters. Okay, so that's basically how this is working. Now we want to basically create a raster that will show us locations in Bishkek that have a high amount of cafes, right? This heat map is great and it's given us an idea, but we want to have something a little bit more valuable to us. So we're going to use the raster calculator to show us locations that have a value of, let's say, 12 and up. So within an 800 meters walking distance there, from any location there that shows up on this next map, we'll be able to get to at least 12 cafes. Okay, so let's see how we do that. Let's go up to our raster calculator. Greater than or equal to 12. Heat map greater than 12. Okay, and we'll run that. Okay, I want to turn this into a vector. Great. Okay, and so we can see that this location and this location right? Anything with zeros are places that don't have that. Anything with ones do have that. Okay, so 12, why don't we drop that down to 10 so we get a little bit more information there. So we'll remove these. We'll redo our raster calculator. Let's do 8. All right, that looks a little bit better actually. Great, we'll do the same thing. We'll convert this to a vector. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to basically get rid of everything that's a 0. So we'll come in, the editor on, we'll select anything where fields and values equal 0. And we'll close that and we'll delete it. Anything that fits those criteria. Save that. Great. So this is all that we're left with. And these are our hotspots. We can put a map underneath there and we can show on a map the locations that have hotspots with large amounts of cafes. That would help people know what parts of town are the best place to go to if they want lots of choice. Truth be told, what we've just done is we've created a silly little map that shows us places where you can go in Bishkek where you'll be close to a whole bunch of different cafes so that you can have a big choice. But in reality, we can do a lot of stuff with heat mapping. We can look at locations with high densities of specific species. All right, that's one really important thing that we can do in ecology. Sometimes that might be really important for protecting certain areas, right? You're going to be more, you're going to want to protect something with a higher density of an endangered animal, more likely to be able to be conserved because of its higher density numbers. And so if you know where those are, then you can do a better job of protecting them in that location. Not to say that the other locations aren't important, but because of the density, you're going to focus a lot of your effort and your work on that one dense area. Okay, so heat mapping can allow us to make decisions like that. We can use it in conjunction with other things as well, obviously, with some of the things that we've learned in the past. But yeah, so this is the main idea for how to do heat mapping, converting that heat map from a raster to a vector that's useful, that can show things to us. And let me know if you have any questions down in the comment section. And yeah, see you in module 10.